Hello, hello. This is Budgets with Grace, where I give you a glimpse of my life using the lens of my budget. My name's Grace. A little about me: I'm 27, almost 28. I live in Washington State, a couple hours north of Seattle. I live in my condo with my 2 cats, and my boyfriend just moved in this year. Although I live with my boyfriend, we are not married. Our finances are completely separate, so he pays me rent to cover our expenses, and we just don't share bank accounts yet. And I love using this software that you see right now. It's called YNAB, or You Need a Budget. It's some of the best budgeting software out there. You can check it out with a link in my description below. In addition to that, I use Toolkit for YNAB. It's a free Google Chrome and Firefox extension. You can also find a link for it in my description. With that, I'm so excited to bring you a November check-in, recap, what have you. The month is over, so it's time to look at some reports. So I'm going to back it up to November in my budget. And actually, the first thing I want to look at is up in the top corner, this age of money and days of buffering. So age of money is something generated by YNAB. It's an average of, it's kind of hard to explain. They explain it so many times, but of your last 10 cash transactions, it's asking how long have those dollars been in your account, assuming that you're spending the oldest dollars, the money that you earned the longest ago that you have, versus like new money that you just got with this new paycheck. Anywho, they average it all out and it comes to 54 days, which is pretty amazing. They kind of advocate for a minimum of 30 days. That's like an indication that you've broken the paycheck to paycheck cycle. But all the way up to 60 days, that's like basically having like 2 months of buffering between when I spend the money that I get. I just use the word buffering, but days of buffering is totally different. It comes from Toolkit for YNAB, and it's instead of looking back at what you have spent, it looks forward at your average spending. So if I hover over this, I really like this drop down it shows. So it shows how much money it's calculated for all the money that has been going outflow, and it shows the total days of budgeting, and then it shows the average of that. And what it is calculating is if you spent all the money that you have in cash, how many days into the future could you go? So if I'm spending, let's just round it up, $130 on average every day, I will run out of money on February 28th, 2021 if I don't make any more money. But of course, like, I'm not trying to spend all that money. Those are like my emergency funds. So keep all that in mind. It is like a worst case scenario almost. So I'm going to look back. I think I'm going to go back to September and look at my age of money and days in buffering here. They're really close to being the same. But in October, age of money decreased a lot. And there's a good reason for that. It's because I wasn't bringing in the same amount of income. Like, I was paying myself through my freelance business, but I had a big opportunity that allowed me to pay myself a lot more. And then that was like a full-time position that I had paying me for the full month of November. That's when the age of money really started to go up. I'm going to even go back to, let's look at July. Yeah, this is when I wasn't bringing in a lot of income, so my age of money decreased because I had to spend those newer dollars instead of aging them. August, it went back up. It looks like I've been pretty well, though, between 30 and 60 days, so that's great to see. And it kind of makes me feel like I should adjust this goal. Like, I know that next month is my goal, so maybe I don't need to see that here and just focus on the things that I'm really prioritizing. Now I want to go over some changes that are in my budget. I love going over the changes in my budget. I love how flexible YNAB is. and I just want to talk through some of it. My immediate obligations, most of these have remained the same. I did add back my student loans because I will have to budget for those minimum payments in January. I also added annual subscriptions. So I decided to try to make all of my true expenses more like shell categories. And by shell category, I mean a category that I do not plan to spend out of, and that will show up in my reporting. I'll just show you right now how that shows up. If I go to income versus expenses, and I look under immediate obligations, like you can see, even though all the categories are supposed to be showing, not all my category groups are showing. Like true expenses isn't on here. And that's because the true expense that I had, this must have been Bank of America fee. So if I back it up even further, you can see under annual subscriptions that I paid for YNAB in September, and you can't see the true expense that I have been saving in that category. So I really like this method personally. I don't know why. So same with Costco haul. When I spend from that category, it's either going to go into groceries or whatever other crap I want from Costco, like clothes, maybe gifts, decoration, new house stuff, consumable house stuff, that kind of thing. Home repair, I'm never going to spend out of this category. This would go into household or personal spending, medical cost. I haven't even spent out of this ever, but it would go into personal and maybe under healthcare here. And oil change, and there was another car thing in here. Cars. My registration. That would all go under car spending, under license to drive for the registration, and auto shop for the oil change and any other maintenance that I need on the car. I'm not going to go through all of these, that would take a lot of time, but that's how this system is going to work. Goals have just really decreased and become more focused. Since we last talked, I took out my spending goals, like a new TV and a new couch just aren't our priorities. And when I say are, I mean me and my boyfriend. Do not break glass. I haven't taken anything out of these categories. I don't think I put anything in November. Oh, I did, because one of the things I moved from goals would be the future and future car payment. That upped my total emergency fund for now, and when I start contributing to those two again, I'll move them up out of this group. Household spending, this used to be like things I would spend on the house, and now they're things that we spend as a household, unmarried, coupled family. Giving Forest is the category that Forest is reimbursing me out of, and then groceries and consumable goods and new stuff, that's where I put my share of all those things. So charge half of it to Giving Forest and then divide up my half of things between the remaining categories in that group. So another new area would be just for fun, sinking fund. And this is really fun because this is like those shell categories or true expenses or sinking funds. I am never going to spend money out of Holo Taco. I will spend the money out of beauty, but I'll be putting away $8 every month so that I'll have a lump sum that I can buy a bunch of nail polish with in a few months. Me Undies and the Bagelry subscription are monthly, but it is helpful for me to have these two categories and just move the money where it needs to go when the fee is charged. Car spending, I recategorized some things like car wash so that I remember to go get my car washed, which I need to do. And using my true expenses like shell categories, so I will see them differently in my report. CAT's the same, project's the same, event funds are all the same. Great, now I'll go into my reports, which is why we're all here, right? I will just look at the goals and I'll look at them from August to November, and you'll see that my Roth IRA became a huge priority, and so did my mutual fund investing, which leads to my net worth, which is just increasing so much. You can see this big jump is when my unemployment kicked in. I got a huge paycheck, and then it kind of becomes more regularly increasing as my income regulated, basically as I got better at running my freelance business and actually paying myself a salary as opposed to paying myself everything that was left over after taxes. And I also like in the sidebar here, it tells you if it went up and how much it went up or down by. So that's kind of fun. But what I love are the toolkit reports, and this is my favorite one of all. I'm looking at September right now, so I will do last month. That's November at this point. And you can see how much, like 42% of my income went straight to retirement saving, which is pretty amazing. Like, that's some fire shit right there. And also, if I back this up a month to October, you can see the shift in my priorities starting to happen. The net gain is the amount of money that just stayed in my budget and didn't go anywhere, just basically building up that emergency fund. If we go back even to September, it was an even bigger priority to me to save for those things. So let's expand this to account for all of them. Yeah, and now they've all kind of evened out. I hope that I will maintain, instead of a higher amount of net gain, to more going out in goals. One last final look at my net worth, which is so satisfying to see. I'm at a positive net worth of $15,820. I still have student loans. I have no regrets about my student loans, and it will become a priority for me to pay those off in 2021. On that note, I want to conclude this monthly recap. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me. If you want to, you can like, comment, subscribe, all the things, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!